So the way I'm thinking we'll break it down is we'll look at like the hype in the Diablo 3 because there was like a ton of hype in Diablo 3. Then we'll
Man,
then
it
we'll
was
look
hype.
at like your vanilla release with the auction house and all that shit, and then we'll like
It
look at
disaster.
the loot 2.0 and all of that stuff. But before we get into that, you played Diablo 2 Resurrection, so give us the spill, man.
Well, it's Diablo 2. Uh, you know, basically, it's the little filter thing is cool. Like, you can change it to look like retro graphics, but they don't look quite the same as they. I don't know. I guess because I played Ziel recently, like within the past like few months, it's like I can look at that and be like, it looks a little bit more grainier than what it actually does if you play Diablo 2 now. So it's neat, but it's like the idea of playing it with that turned on. I mean, I think it's just a cool little function. It looks pretty. Um, the servers are super laggy and super shitty. Um, everything is about the same of like one of the more recent patches as far as like. In fact, they haven't released a patch to fix any. Well, they've released patches to fix crashes, but they haven't released any patches to modify any of the game mechanics yet. Um, unless they've snuck some in there without telling anybody. Like, because it's had a couple of patches, but it's all been like for crashes. One of them was it wouldn't recognize certain CPUs. Like Will's
Yeah, I
had a
heard about
problem with
that.
that. It was like real weird because Will's like this is like a 2 year old computer. It's not like you just bought like the newest processor off the shelf, and built a computer.
Oh, so he
Um,
couldn't play, huh?
he could play, but it was weird. It's like it got pissy a lot, and then that kind of straightened that out. Um, as far as like it's weird. The lobbies hadn't been straightened out yet either. Like, there's only one lobby, and it bounces back and forth to be like you're now exited the trade lobby when you join a game, but you're not in a trade lobby. You're just a lobby. Like, in old Diablo 2 BattleNet, like you could do a drop down list and pick what lobby you wanted to be in, or you could like edit it to change it to whatever lobby you wanted to be in, like LTU or whatever. You know
So
what I'm saying?
yeah. Step back for a second. So in the same lobby, you don't have the east to west realms or anything like that. It's all the same
Oh,
thing.
there's no realms at all. Everything's on the same thing. There's no realms.
So when
It's
you're
only
in,
just
so when
one.
you're in global, you're literally with everybody playing Diablo on PC. Every fucking person, they're all there.
Yeah.
Global chat.
Yep.
Is it like fucking chaos?
No, not really, because it's all broken. So you
Okay.
don't even know how much. It's like I think it don't put you in global chat with everybody on. I think it just breaks down into random rooms. It says lobby, but like not a lot of people seem to chat in it. But there'll be a bunch of people in it. And what it is, I think there was like in Diablo 2, there was a max lobby number of how many people could be in it, and I think it just breaks it into random lobbies. Um, but it's not like you can go because there's a drop down list. But when you go to that drop down list, the only thing in there is it just says lobby and there's nothing under it.
And so
Um,
I'm trying to remember. That's a long damn time for like shit like trade. But see now, like in World of Warcraft, you could be in multiple things at the same time. So you would just go, backslash trade, and then you would be in that one, and you could leave that one. I'm wondering if that's what's going on. No idea.
I have no idea. I haven't stayed in it long enough to really find out. And it's like somebody was like, "How do you get into the trade channel?" It's like, man, it's not even like you would be in the trade channel like randomly or something. It was very odd. But like I said, it's a whole new setup on BattleNet's end compared to like old Diablo 2.
Yeah.
Like it has like the Diablo 3 type. It connects up to that type BattleNet, but there's no more realms or anything like that. It's just alls in there. Um, you can use your controller. I haven't used the controller yet. I just been doing mouse and keyboard. But from what I've heard, is it's like you get an advantage for picking stuff up if you have a controller because there's a pickup button.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you can, and I haven't tried it, but supposedly like you can pick up faster if you are using a controller because you could just run over and just hit X and or hold X and it picks up whatever.
Yeah, yes. As soon as it
I
drops.
Yeah, and
Remember
I've
Daryl Eddy with the freaking the ground would shake. You tried to get the shield.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think if you have that's what
Oh
you would
God,
literally. You know
no.
what you do? You'd have you play with the mouse, right? But you'd have your keyboard, controller just so working. If they let you do that, so when you get, it's the time for Daryl, you start matching X real fast.
Ah,
Yep.
get that first drop. I want to see what my
And the thing
treasure
is,
is.
it's like
Oh.
stuff disappears really fast. Like if it's a boss and it's like, I mean, it's like you won't even see it hit the ground and it'll all be picked up. Like it's only on the ground for like a flash. You can't even read what it is. So it's like, and there's not. I mean, there might be some bots on there and some auto picks already, but I don't think so. I haven't heard about any of them yet, so it's like I wonder if it's just people using controller.
So,
you know?
how's the ping?
It comes and goes. The servers are shit. That's
So is
really what
is it
comes
more
down
like
to.
is it like the way I remember it, or is it like Diablo 3?
I'd say it's worse than Diablo 3's because Diablo 3's was never. It was bad. It had its moments, but it was never like this. A lot of times you'll get communication to server errors, like when you try to create a game, it'll be like, it'll say something like having trouble connecting, and you can exit the lobby. Going back and forth between waypoints in separate acts sucks because it's such a load thing.
For real?
Yeah, it's you remember like in old school Diablo, it was like instant. Like if you let's just say you like started up a game, or you joined a game. Say you joined it like a bow run game, and
Yeah.
you're in Act 2, you just switch over to Act 5 like instantly. It's like there's a little bit of a hesitation there on the load up, and it could just be my computer.
Well, I mean, you don't have an NVMe, but you have an SSD, so you should.
Yeah, I got an
be quick.
SSD. It should. You can tell it's probably all server side. Is
Yeah,
what
that's what
I'm
I'm
guessing.
betting. Like Diablo 3.
Yeah, and that's what it feels like. Is it feels more server side than anything else. Um, there is auto pickup on the gold. That is a nice add to it.
Yep.
They added a few things in there that were kind of like just made things easier, and that's one of them.
You know what's
Like
funny?
auto gold. Yeah.
Some of the bigger mods already had that auto gold shit.
Oh,
picked in.
exactly. Well, that's what it's kind of
Zyle
like.
didn't, but
They looked at things like a lot of those mods, and you could tell that's where they got their ideas. Like when you go to your character stat screen, there's an arrow over, and it will tell you all that stuff that like Y plugin used to tell you,
yeah.
like how much magic find you had, how much life leech, mana leech, all that. So you could tell they were like, yeah, we should add this in there. The stash part is great because there's you got the shared stash. Um, Between basically what it is you the stash is bigger. It's no longer 10 by 10. It's bigger than that, or maybe it is 10 by 10. It's bigger than whatever the original was. And the first tab is for that character, and then you got three other tabs that are called shared. And any character you make can see anything in the shared tabs, including gold and whatever. So, like, as long as you like, if you're making another character and you want to use some of their low level gear to start up another character, and you put it in that shared stash, both of them can see it.
And I assume it's bigger, right?
Yeah, it's bigger, and that's pretty cool. The only real thing I've had a problem with is it likes to crash, and I've updated my video drivers to the newest thing. I mean, it's a lot of, and it's like instant back to Windows crash. Like no, not even like, oh, it's hanging up for a second
Or
and then it's going to crash.
the blizzard or anything.
Yep. It's basically like, because it'll be sometimes when you're joining a game, sometimes when you're exiting out, like you'd be like, I'm going to get off Battle.net. It would just like crash back to Windows. Sometimes it's just in the middle of a freaking game, period. You're just like running, doing something, and then all of a sudden, bam, you're right back to Windows.
Yeah, all of a sudden you see this nice shiny gold piece there, and
you run over to it. You run over to it.
It's my legendary item. Crash.
Yep. And it's like drops seem to be about like they were in old Diablo. They're not, everywhere like they are in Diablo 3. The trade community is not bad. I haven't ran into any assholes at all yet, which is shocking because the old Diablo 2 used to just be assholes everywhere. I think what it is most of these people they're like us. They're older now, and they're like, we ain't got time for that shit.
Yeah, I think we saw a parody video where they were making fun of like the whole trade thing, where somebody would trade an item that looked like a unique piece or whatever, but it was really junk.
Yeah, there was custom little bullshit tricks they would have.
Yeah.
With the ball sacks and stuff. But you're not hyping it up for me, man. Not at
It's
all.
fun. Really, it's one of those. I bought it with the intent that like I'll get a month to play out of it, and then I'll be good, just to scratch that old Diablo 2 itch.
Yeah.
Will's playing it, so it's fun to play with Will. And it's neat to go back and play it. but I mean, it's Diablo 2. It looks like Diablo 3. It looks pretty. The freaking shadow effects and like the like down in the cathedral and stuff around like Andariel,
Yeah.
really kind of cool. Like the torches, the way they reflect on the walls when you walk by. A lot of cool stuff like that, and it's fun, and it's not $59.99. I was kind of shocked that they were only charging like what was it, like $40 for it.
That's pretty cool. I bet. I wonder if it's that price on. Well, I mean, it's a digital. There's no physical copies on the consoles.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what they're thinking of. That's a pretty good idea, I think, honestly.
Yeah, because I mean, I honestly, at this point in time, I'm just anytime something comes out and it's not $59.99, I'm kind of surprised. You know, that's just kind of the going rate. But no, it was like $39.99. It's like just, and it's like, oh, that's only 40. I mean, it's $20 off, which is it's $20. But it's like if you're on the fence, you know how sometimes you're just like, I don't want to spend $60 on this. But yeah, I've enjoyed it. I've had fun with it. It's been fun to go back and play it, but it's Diablo 2 at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Poor old Will, he is forgotten. He'd be like you don't remember what it was like leveling up because you know it's like old school leveling. Whereas like in Diablo 3, they don't really give a shit how you level up. It's like the whole point of Diablo 3 is to get your character maxed out, and then you just live off the Paragon levels.
Yeah.
Because you'd have hundreds of them. So even if you started the character off brand new, you'd have like 900 Paragon levels.
What do you do, max bash?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you just... they do have respec skills automatically built in on all 3 difficulties, which they added that in Diablo 1.10 or 11, I think.
Yeah, it was somewhere in there.
You had to fight certain enemies to get a little piece of a chip, and then you had to assemble it. And then you can do a respec. Steve.
Once per difficulty?
I think so.
Yeah.
Multiple difficulty. I'm not 100% sure, but I'd have to find my characters.
Dario could do it for you. I think there was 2 different ways to do it back then. You could make the thing if you had used all yours, but in Dario, it's like as long as you'd beaten like the Den of Evil per difficulty, it would let you do it. I think.
Okay.
And that's pretty much how this is. You get it once per difficulty, which is good if you're leveling up because that means you're not like, you know, bullshitting to the end of like getting to level 30 before you start using your points, you know?
Yeah, being a sorceress with large axe for fucking like Act 1 and 2 and maybe having something like 3. Maybe.
It's like just trying to get up to freaking, you know, frozen orb or meteor or something or whatever you're going for.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, as far as the patches, they haven't released any like, you know, character balancing patches, but it seems to be a lot like later Diablo 2, like 1.12, 1.13 balancing. Hammered-ins are still good. That's probably about as close as they ever got to getting that stuff balanced anyway. So, but all in all, though, it's fun. I mean, for me, to $40, it was worth 40. If I get a month out of it, I'm happy at $40. It's fun to go back and play. If Will wasn't playing, I probably would already be done with it because I got like a level 80 Zon already. I was surprised at how much of it came back to me as soon as I started playing. It was like after about an hour of playing, it was like, oh, I know exactly how to handle this.
It's ingrained in your soul.
It is, man. That's like Will was like, I forgot all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, I think I've like forgotten more about Diablo than most people ever knew because I played it so much. And like I said, I never even watched the storylines. I have no idea what the story of Diablo 2 is, but I probably spent like close to 1,000 hours playing that damn game.
I can kind of tell you're following the warrior guy from the first game. He's possessed by Diablo, and he's gonna set his brothers free. That's basically it.
But
that sounds complicated. All I know is pick up items, trade items, get better items.
Smash the piano monsters, get better shit, and be sorceress or no one else, as far as I'm concerned.
Hey man, Paladin was good. I like Paladin.
Yeah, once you get your enigmas and you know your plus skills for the spam hammers.
I played Paladin.
But going from Diablo 2 to Diablo 3, there were some big things that stuck out in Diablo 2. Stuff that you were nearly impossible to balance. Like, you know, the best way to play a paladin is to not play melee. things like that. And then and what you kind of notice as you're playing those games is like if you're not blowing the whole fucking screen up instantaneously,
it's all about monster control. It's crap.
Yeah.
Diablo 2 is like that too, because that's like Will likes to play as a barbarian, which is great. It's all fine and dandy. It's a great boss killer like character, but you're not gonna. That's like we would go play cows, and I have a Javazon. It's like they're gonna obliterate cows in like two throws. You know, it's just it is what it is.
Yep. And
but you got to you got it's just crowd control. That's what it comes down to. And the paladin with the hammers can do that. The paladin that's melee cannot.
Yeah.
So
it's literally blow up the whole screen. If you're not a character that can just hit the whole screen, you're not doing it right. And one of the things that they've really tried to look at when they came to Diablo 3 was to look at stuff like that and try to find some way to try to balance these assholes, because some of the balance was just so laughably bad, or something like, you know, the original Necro could just melt the screen with that corpse explosion because it scaled with the monsters, but they're like, oh, we gotta nerf this, and so they would scale it so it only ever worked for player 1 monsters, and then so it became kind of shitty. But they put a lot of work and effort and thought into that, and as they announced Diablo 3, they would have these big updates where they would sit there and tell, you know, they would show videos or whatever, but they would like tell you that this is what we're going to do. And there was a champion among champions who was the game director, the chief guy, a super Chad named Jay Wilson. Jay Wilson, who's the baddest badass, who's never credited any wrongs. He originally had worked on World of Warcraft, so he'd worked on World of Warcraft. He's coming over to Diablo. He's like, I'm going to figure out the meta of this shit. We're going to figure this damn game out. And so...
he did, all right.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you remember, but the original way the skills in Diablo 3 were supposed to come down was they were actually runes you found. So you would only, if Diablo 3 released the way they wanted it to, you would only had your regular attacks. And, you know, the 6 bonuses would be missiles. Runes. And you would have to find these runes. And they would have tiered varieties. So in order to get a leveled up thing, you would have to have these runes. And I want to say that there was like there had to be over 100-something runes, and then they would have tiers on top of these runes. That would probably be the most important thing to trade. I would think over uniques would have if that system went through. I forgot exactly when, but probably been like 6 months or something before they're supposed to release it or something like that. So it's faster than you think. They decided that we're going to get rid of these runes, and then the auction house was also announced there, and then it was like I forgot what day it was. It was like they called it like Black Tuesday or some shit like that. The day Diablo died, for Mr. J. Wilson. Another thing, of course, was the Inferno mode. Now
I had to get you guys to help me through that, because some of the bosses, mainly Belial. Repeat Belial.
Well, it was broken to start with.
Cake.
He
like it wasn't even doable to begin with.
Yes.
You remember that?
They had balanced it for Hell mode, Eddie, and then they just took all the numbers they had. Their spreadsheets were designed to ramp up. Everything was trying to counteract what Diablo 2 was. Like for Diablo 2, you spam meth, you spam Baal, you spam cows, you just 2 or 3 areas. And then, like, 95% of the game, at end game, you don't even look at. So, that's when you came up with things where, well, these uniques, they're going to level up with you and to the unique items. The monsters are going to level up with you. And so, you'll cap out at level 60, and then all of this stuff will level up with you, so there's no reason to only be in this part of the map or that part of the map. And, of course, like, he'll say that, well, Act, 4 monsters will be a little stronger than the level 60 monsters on Act 1, but it was a tiered system, and so the plan was to try to get you to go visit multiple areas. He was also very adamant about a vanilla Diablo 2 thing, which was making the rare weapons the best because of the rare damage on the weapons. So what he ended up doing was he wanted rares to be best, so he wanted each gear that felt like it was a personal thing that you found. Although honestly, you fucking got it at the auction house. It isn't personal at all.
I could never. The
but,
auction house just sucked for me.
We'll get to that, Eddie. But so in order to get the rares to be best, the uniques had to suck, and so the uniques were gimp nerfed. And I think
Not all of them,
no, most of your vanilla uniques were shit.
Jerry got good
Oh, yeah.
on one
Like
he
the
sold
wind
at the
force
auction
was
house before
complete
they nerfed
crap.
that one. Some kind of bracers.
Yeah, so Jay had these big plans. A lot of it was designed specifically to counter what had happened on Diablo 2, things that they thought they could do, but they messed up, and so they had all these plans. Lots and tons of Warcraft went into this stuff. So you had stuff like cooldowns and shit, which were introduced to try to avoid lag in Diablo 2. Just like, freaking terrible performance with that game if you didn't have the Voodoo 2 card. But they were like, you would have strong damage or strong crowd control shit that would have a cooldown on it. Your dodge move had a cooldown, and like you couldn't even have your armor just to percentage decrease of damage. If the enemy attacked you, even if you were freaking ran away, he would hit you. It was built in so they'd automatically hit. So you had to have these dodge moves that had each one had a cooldown. Every character had one. The Witch Doctor was kind of spiritual dodge, right?
Spirit walk.
Yeah.
You go from somewhere and you just walk through away for a while. It lasts for a few seconds.
Now, didn't the Demon Hunter have 2, Chad? There was
the vault. There was vault away, and then there was
the smoke
there
bomb.
was something
right?
else. It was something that made her invincible for a second. I forget what it was. Yeah. For like 3 seconds, just enough to get away.
Yeah. The Sorceress, of course, had or the Wizard now had she had teleport. The Barbarian had I think did he have a jump? He had a jump.
He had a jump.
Yeah. He had a dash to move forward, but he also had a jump. And so they rebuilt everything in it, and they each one of them gave them different resources. So which would be like your mana, and so each one had their own resource mechanic. The point was being that your regular attacks wouldn't be so much for damage; they would just help you rebuild your resource, and then your resources where all your damage is coming from, and then you'd have the plan was because they knew that people would only use the most proficient attack, that they would try to build in for all of your skills, which they decreased the amount of quick skills you could put down to 6. It just simplifies it, so you had pretty much right mouse, left mouse, and then the 4 buttons. They wanted you to try to use at least a couple of those. You had your escape move, you had some kind of major thing on the cooldown, and then might had a buff or 2. This was the plan for every character, and so and also things like you had the problems where the wizard the Sork and the Necro would get their power from skill magic, while the other characters were equipment based. Well, now they combined them all, and so so as a wizard you needed an important weapon. You ended up using I used like a damn furnace, which is a big 2-handed mace. And for vanilla Diablo 2, I used 200 weapons because they were cheaper in the auction house. A lot of these things were designed to try to avoid what problems were in Diablo 2. They ended up creating a whole new set of problems.
A whole new level.
Yeah.
Auction house sucked.
But the anticipation, the build up, the wait is immense. This is probably my most built up and anticipated game because it took forever for this damn thing to come out.
It took forever, and then once they announced it, it was like it's coming out in like 6 months. You remember that? Yeah. It was like all of a sudden they went from not saying a word to like it's coming out this year.
Extensive betas. You could do.
I remember somehow.
You could do. Was it all of Act 1? I know it wasn't all of Act 1. It was up to the Skeleton King.
The Skeleton King. Because I remember.
The Skeleton King.
I remember Jerry got like a code. Don't know how, but he played a demo version. He played the Witch Doctor demo version where he fought the Skeleton King.
Yeah.
And I was like, it looks good and everything, but I don't really know. When's it coming out? Eddy's saying that because Eddy didn't have a PC at the time. Actually, I did. But
You did not run that motherfucker. Shut up over there. We all were getting PCs at the time, and in fact, I was worried about my fellow moocher here, Mr. Eddy, and so I literally went out and just built like a $600 PC. I made sure, but at the end, pretty much everybody was able to get a PC at the end. They would get it from Hewlett Packard or whatever they could do. I ended up building a computer for Jerry, but we were all piled in, stacking, getting PCs, and then getting ready to play this shit. I had a freaking room set aside with them, like 4 setups, so everybody could monitors, so everybody could bring their PC, sit in the room, and play.
Well, unfortunately, I had to miss out because of some family stuff I had to attend to at the time.
Yep,
and I was disappointed.
They had to take out the garbage, guys. It's bad.
No, it was more like some family stuff, some surgery stuff.
Gotcha.
Watch over some people.
But
whatever.
The anticipation was immense.
I played later on, and I was like, "Well, this game's fun."
Yep. We got you a copy somehow or another. I remember that, and you would have to.
Yeah, every time I went to Jerry's, I played a little.
Yep, and then you guys could play together at my house because I had the LAN set up shit. But game didn't run too hot when it came out as far as performance wise. I'd played through StarCraft 2. It had ultra settings. I just assumed that okay, during the beta that this game looks like shitballs, but I'm sure like when the retail comes out, ultra settings are going to be in there and it's going to look great. Nope. Fucking what's that in there? Of course, another big problem was down to 4 players because we would often have 7 or 8 people there playing local Diablo 2 there at the end, using pirated up copies. But the 4 players. I guess so you can have a whole bunch of stupid shit on the screen so you can't tell what you're doing. That's what it seemed to be to me. But we finally got launch, got to get everybody together. We avoided, what was it, the Era 37? I think it was. You weren't there, Eddy, but we avoided Era 37, and we're able to play most of the freaking day. God, dog, that was crack. I ended up taking like a week and a half off or vacation. This is how deep we really were planning for this shit. And then I was the first person to make it 60. I busted my ass off. I was literally like tired of sitting. And I ain't hardly ever been like that. Just to get level 60, the wizard. And I decided since the sorceress was the best in Diablo 2, we're just gonna play wizard no matter what. At the time you played in Diablo 2, it was you would be the magic find sorceress, but there was no magic find in this game. But
that was a totally different kind of thing. If you were seriously hardcore to hunt down treasure goblins.
I think they were decently rare in vanilla.
They were in set locations, and people had videos on it, and then they axed that.
But freaking week 1, man, when you're going through normal mode, even though it was way too easy, difficulty-wise, it was really easy.
Yeah, normal mode.
It was so fucking fun. It was so awesome. Every few levels, you got a cool skill, and it was like badass. The freaking damn disintegrate shit was just awesome. I love that little wizard spell. I forgot which main skill it was, but she threw a big orb and it kind of did its wavely wig pattern. It was a regular attack, but dude, that was fun as shit. So much stuff, so many skills. They had spent so much time making a lot of things that were fun to use.
Witch Doctor was fun. Random frogs, explosive frogs. You had the zombie dogs, the giant gargantuan guys.
You got to speak up. You have to go over there and speak up because
well, anyway, the Witch Doctor was a fun character for me, mainly because I saw this one. He threw toads at people, like explosive toads and stuff, and it had a range where there was an ability where you'd rain acid down, and you can actually hit enemies across a cliff. And they couldn't hit you.
Had the little freaking
and
flares.
Yeah, the little knife guys and some of the guys that did the poison darts.
And then, so I didn't play much besides wizard, but the skills and shit were just fun. They were fun as hell to use. Just a blast to play, and there were so many different varieties of them. Okay, so maybe this one sucked, but there would be tons of other ones that were great. It's like it would be real hard for you to not find something somewhere that you really like to use. Now, whether it was usable or what the fuck, that's completely different. Because
Chicken bomb.
Yeah. Well, no, the chicken bomb later in, Reaper of Souls ended up being pretty damn good.
Yeah, that was for the what's it runs, the rift runs, where you just have to speed through it. Try to do it as fast as possible.
Yeah, of course, week one, you did not have, it was several days in, 4 or 5 days in before the auction house came up, and there was no money tied to it yet.
Yeah.
So,
no, let's not go there.
With the auction house designed the way it was, they absolutely balanced the game around it as far as drops, and so
they should not have been there in the first place.
Yeah,
it was great. I love the auction house.
Yeah, you got stuff. I didn't. I only got one yellow axe, and it took me a month to get.
You get the money that Jerry allowed you to have, Eddie.
Well, here's the thing. I never used real money on the auction house, and I think the problem is they never should have allowed you to use real money. That's what broke the auction house, was actually implementing that you could buy gold for certain amounts of money.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Coming from playing Diablo 2 for about 15 years and spending all your time playing, you wouldn't even play the freaking game. You'd spend all night trying to get one item in freaking trade channels. So the idea of like, oh, dude, I can just sell an item and get some gold and use that gold to buy exactly what I want. That was awesome. I thought it was the greatest thing ever.
And it came from World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I mean, it was I love putting stuff up on there and then being like, coming back later and being like, oh, this sold, this sold, this sold. Now I can go, bid on this or straight up buy. That's the one thing that's like, I cannot go back to that in Diablo 2 Resurrected, is spending an hour a night trying to find trades when you could have just been like playing the actual game. No, I got to spend all this time freaking in trade channels, making games, dealing with people that are like not bring. You make a game, be like, oh, looking for Titans or bring Titans or Titans for, ruin or whatever.
Yeah.
And you'd spend like 2 hours in the game waiting for somebody to come in, and you'd have about 15 people come in that are offering you something else that you don't want, and it's just like, so the auction house alleviated all that. That's why the auction house was great, because for people that actually got into the economy of Diablo 2, a lot of people never got into the Diablo economy of Diablo 2 because they were just too busy. They would play, but they never had the best stuff, because you weren't going to find the best stuff. If you wanted the best stuff, you had to trade for it. So
yeah, it was there to try to stop hacks, or the third-party sites, because you could go and just spend real money to go to these third-party sites and have these items come in. The fundamental problem with both the Diablo trade and the Diablo 3 trade is, when you really get down to it, the key to power, the key to getting better in the game, is not to actually play the actual fucking game.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
if you play the game, you will never find. That's like, let's say you need like Windforce. Good luck finding that. You might play for freaking like years and not find one. As you could have went on the auction house and bought one in like 30 minutes with golds you found in game or freaking stuff that you sold. That was awesome. Now the idea that it got fucked up when they started implementing real money, because that meant like, oh, it's going in a totally different direction now, and that's what happened. It became pay to play. Yep. Whereas before it was like you could play to get better, but you had the economy of Diablo 2 was not the game. The game was different than it was like you said. It was almost like two different games, because you could be rich on Diablo 2 with the economy, but it's like you didn't play the game all that much, but you would just you know what you saw shit. What I had back. Yeah, you remember what it was like back in the day when I'd have like 30 or 40 SOJs, and you'd be like, hey, I need a freaking whatever, and I'd be like, okay, give me 5 minutes. I could throw some SOJs at it. Next thing you know, you got exactly what you wanted.
Yeah.
But most people like didn't play like that, and they weren't used to like they'd be like, "Why can't I find Wind Force?" And it's like, "Cause you ain't going to. Just go find a bunch of stuff you can trade and then trade for it."
Yeah. And so it's a conundrum. It's something that I don't. Maybe it's been solved in some games as service game or something we played today. I know the Destiny has it, but this is a Castlevania HD thing. Once they went account bound, and we'll get more into Reaper Souls sooner or later. But once they made everything account bound, this situation is like you're at the mercy of the RNGesus. And so they came up with stuff like the little blood shards, so you could try to gamble. And sooner or later, you're going to tap in to what you're looking for. It's probably going to be a shitty version of it, but that, even though that's misery in a lot of ways, because when you're so desperate for one thing, when you really need this one thing to get going, and you cannot find that shit for nothing, and you feel like you're getting shit on, and then you just rage quit. At least then you're playing the game, and so there has to be maybe something when they're thinking about Diablo 4, something that you could come by and say, well, okay, you're not going to have to do 800 fucking runs to get Sonic boots or whatever the hell you're looking for. It actually has a chance to drop, a reasonable chance to drop. If you can't get that shit that you want, you're going to have some sort of resource or method to be able to make that shit yourself. Because stuff in Zael is actually pretty dang good at that. We didn't get too far into like looking for specific uniques, but there's recipes to get your ass. Well, first of all, the best,
you can get it.
Yeah, the best shit was on the Zael scrolls anyway. So you just, but if it was if you wanted a freaking Wind Force in Zael, you can make that shit, and then if you make some kind of bow close and then gamble it to it, and then I think between the bullshit things that were based on item level that players were not knowledgeable of unless you really did deep research. Where like only Bell's going to drop this shit, or
Candleskin, or going to the pit.
Yeah,
it's like a lot of people would play the game had no idea what the pit was, and it'd be like Act 1 pit. Hell, you can drop any item in the game in it. It's like but most people didn't know that.
Yep.
So it's like quit freaking farming Diablo trying to get a Tyrael's might, because it ain't gonna happen.
Yep, there was so much hidden information there, and the fucking runes that pretty much had to be duped. And so when Mr. J. Wilson, chief gamer extraordinaire, the meta designer of all things, when he's trying to do this shit, he has an exact reason why he's doing it. He has an exact reason for the auction house. It works. And well, at least back then it worked for World of Warcraft. And I remember I would you would sit there on the World of Warcraft. You would have your little professions where you're like, oh, well, I make potions, or I skin animals and stuff, and you can make these things and put up these stuff there. And then other players that were in other professions, they wouldn't be able to necessarily do what you could do. So you could sell your pieces and try to undersell. There's a lot of things that are built and designed around the auction house there. Here you're looking at power and tier, and at least in vanilla, it didn't seem like vanilla Diablo 3. It didn't seem like there was a big grandiose plan for at least I didn't remember as far as stack these uniques up. Did it even have set yet? Did they even have side items in vanilla?
I can't remember. Never seen any.
Yeah,
I think it was later on that they came with sets.
I never seen any uniques until after. Well, auction house you'd see one or two, but no, I don't think we've ever seen uniques drop until now. Jerry got one. He sold it before they axed certain player abilities.
My first, I never found any until I was 60, and I was excited that I got a unique. It was a heavy crossbow. I gave it to Chad. You were like, this shit sucks to get back to.
Yeah. Because the uniques at the time were shit, so it didn't matter.
Yeah. I
wanted the butcher's axe.
And so, while...
Just wanted that nice big cleaver so I could run around with it.
I think the real problem is that the game got bounced around the auction house. And the auction house should have been something to the side if you're having a rough trouble getting your goodie. But I guess the other logic is that if they made the uniques drop all the time like regular, it would be flooded with the damn
It flooded.
shit.
And that's what happened after they got rid of the auction house. dude, you could get any item in that game you wanted to within like less than a day of just screwing around in that game. Like when you wanted a set, if you wanted a set, all you had to do was find a couple of pieces. They could, like, it could be the same. Like you could be like, oh, I got 3 pairs of this gloves to this set. Well, you just take 2 of them out and you use the freaking craft thing to re-roll them over and over and over again until you get exactly what you want. They made it so easy to get like what gear you wanted after all that was said and done.
Yeah, it kind of defeats. It's like, what the fuck are we here for? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it did, because it got to the point where like me and you were playing, and it's like we do the riff runs, but after a point, you're like, why are we fucking even doing this shit?
Which I guess before we go further, we'll talk to Loot 2.0. So our Chief Commander of Justice, Jay Wilson, is going to tell you to just deal with it. He's going to tell you he's going to take all your problems, and he's doubled them. The guy who's decided that, thought that running through Diablo 2 and 1, going through the game 3 times was kind of cool. I don't know if it was just you're just in a rush to get the Inferno, or normal being so easy it was like a joke. It got, or maybe it's just the act structure itself, because the individual gameplay of killing shit and collecting shit was pretty damn good in Diablo 3. But I felt that at least in the vanilla, those 4 difficulties just got just on your nerves, man. When they did the adventure mode later on, it was just such a damn. I never even went back and played story mode ever again, honestly.
No, I never did either. It all became adventure mode after that.
Yeah. Yep. And so they had the auction house thing where you're buying power. The best shit's on the real money auction house. And by the way, Eddie, when you freaking I was the first one to beat on Inferno, I'm pretty sure. Eddie started talking shit to me about some shit, and I'm gonna be the first one. He's like, no, you're not. I was pissed off. I remember I was sick with a flu, and you had talked shit about me. You're the only one that could talk shit to get me to do shit, by the way, Eddie. Eddie had talked shit to me, and he's like, I'm the one that's gonna beat it first. And I'm like, the bullshit. I got my $10.25 out. I bought everything. The best thing I could get. The lowest price was $1.25 for each item. So I went in every slot of every freaking piece of equipment. I spent money. I think it was like $10.25 or $10.50, whatever it is. I specced up magnitudes of multiple times of better. And as a wizard back then in vanilla, he had a rough time on. It was Act 4, and I cannot remember. You remember this guy? It was a big dude with like a he was dashed back and forth. I cannot remember.
Is that the one that had the one hit kill?
Yeah. He would dash.
He was the guy with the blade arms, right?
Yeah, 2 blade arms. Yeah, big fat dude. Dashed your shit
right there or whatever. It was at the very beginning of Act 1. It's like his first move was like an insta kill move. You had to move out of the way.
Yep, and at the time they still had the rage on. So if you didn't kill, it was like a test. If you couldn't do enough damage, they would simply the monster would turn rage and just pretty much own your ass.
Obliterate your ass.
Yeah.
It's like
Belial.
Yep. Yes, where you had problem was. It took me about 20 goes, because as a wizard, you could not let that motherfucker hit you. And there was like a get out of death thing that you needed to do. I had to let him trigger that, and I would try to I'd keep his ass. I think only had like the only thing I had was like the Venom Hydra and like a Blizzard or something. I'm pretty sure that's what I was using. You try to get that sucker. I had the big dumb sword or stuff, so I would get the most ticks out of using skills like that. Because I wouldn't just try to spam like a little attack, because get fucking annihilated. Try to get his ass blizzarded up and venom, and just be on the other side of the screen and hope he didn't kill you. In Diablo on Inferno, that was a motherfucker, dude. That guy was rough.
I had to get Jerry and I think somebody else to help me kill that guy finally.
But I beat that shit, and then I rage deleted it. Just wanted to got to prove Eddie wrong. Didn't play it out of fun.
Just to prove it. And what was bad about Inferno mode is, you remember like Act 1 was hard, but it was doable, and then you would get to Act 2, and it was like a brick wall.
Yeah.
It was just like it was almost like a brick wall.
They had already nerfed it and had equipment by then. When
Yeah,
you're
they nerfed it like after about like the first couple of months or something. Because I remember like literally you would barely finish Act One, and you'd get like right there outside the city of Act Two, and it was like you could not go any further. It was like brick wall. Like
yeah,
it was like hitting the wall.
you had to get gear that was from the later difficulties in order to do it. And of course, the only way to get that, if you can't get past farther, is to literally go to auction house. It was
That was
baked
the
in.
only
Eddie.
way.
Yeah.
Do you remember that there was a glitch with the sorceress or the wizard that you could like couldn't get killed? Do you remember that when that happened? They had that one glitch, and it was like you would transform into the. You remember like the super mode? Every character had that mode where you could switch into like a Super Saiyan, basically. Um, I remember like using my wizard and using that glitch before they fixed it just to see how far I could get in like Inferno mode. I still couldn't get past Act Two, even without dying. You couldn't kill anything.
Yeah, because you
It's
did
like
rage.
that you would sit there, you would go up against like those leaping lizard guys, and you would just like unload on them, and it wouldn't even freaking drop their health like an eighth. You would be like, "What the fuck?" Like no matter what you did, they wouldn't even. And that was the original Inferno mode. It is you'd hit Act Two, and it was like brick wall. Like you'd just be nothing.
So what heroic validator Jay Wilson failed to realize was for especially for coming off of Diablo 2, it's like freaking normal and nightmare. That's just shit that gets in your way. The real difficulty was hell. And so when they made Inferno the new thing, well, the best shit's Inferno. Then okay, so normal, nightmare, and hell, these are the jokes. And so Inferno's where we're going to go to play. And oh wait, Inferno isn't even balanced. It ain't even working. It's just freaking stupid. And I had a hell of a lot of fun in Inferno Act 1. Sometimes I'd lose money in repair and get kicked back down to hell. It feels like you're doing the walk of shame, but I needed my money, man. Going back to hell.
Get your gold back so you could like repair shit.
But so they set out, and I cannot remember the guy who worked on this. Now I can't remember his name, but Jay Wilson got the boot. And so first of all, they worked to try to fix the console release because they didn't want to release this shit to, this is going to be the first time a lot of people on console have played Diablo. And so they had
Can't be Diablo 1 on PlayStation. It's got to actually be playable.
But so I want to say his name is Pete. I don't. It's not Pete Hines. That's fucking something else. Whatever. Anyway, the new guy took over, and his big scheme was the loot 2.0 to make the loot actually worth picking up again. And we got the console people had that shit for a hot minute, but the PC players, before a couple weeks before Reaper actually came out, they unleashed 2.0, and holy shit, things dropped on the ground now, and it was worth picking stuff up. And so it's like the key to power is no longer going to the auction house and just freaking looking for shit that you can't afford or pulling out your wallet. It's just you could actually find things, and you go from your character who hasn't found nothing, that had all that pay to win gear, was never going to find anything good worth the damn ever again. I could get shit, and it was like, you know what, this is worth actually installing and playing, and and just from Loot 2.0, even before Reaper, they had saved the game. Because in your loot getting game, if you ain't getting no fucking loot, what are you doing? Yeah. It's like,
and here's the thing, is like there was no trades. It's like once the auction house was gone, there was no trades. You couldn't trade. Well, I don't think you could trade at all, could you? Or is that
there was a thing? There was like a thing you could do to keep somebody else from the game from getting your shit, if I remember right. There was a trade type thing, but it would still be part of Loot 2.0 was account bounding all your crap. So
yeah, remember, like if me and you were playing and one of us found something, we could give it to each other, but nobody else. They had to be in the game, and it only lasted for like 48 hours. They had a countdown.
I think it was.
I don't even know. It had a timer on it.
I think it was like 2 hours. Yeah.
It wasn't long. It was one of those like you had to be in the game with that person, and it wasn't very long.
That's what they went to, the hardcore fucking freaking Castlevania HD. You're going to get depressed by it. You ain't get the treasure you want, but that at least you had a chance. Now you felt like there was no chance at all that you was ever going to get better than your pay to win shit. And so they put the account bound shit in. I'm trying to think of what else. Of course, they revamped all of the uniques and shit to make them good again. I'm trying to think about what major things they did before Reaper.
They nerfed treasure goblins. I know
they
that
nerfed
much.
it then.
Yeah, they made them where they don't show up in the set places that all the run guides said they would.
But
even then, there are certain areas where you'd have a chance of one showing up, so people would still run those areas.
Yeah.
At some point, they made it where you could find like a whole gaggle of them. You remember that?
Yeah.
Or did you stop playing by it? Like it'd be like 10 or 15 of them, and you would just.
I think that was probably that Reaper. That might have been.
That was in Reaper because I remember like it would just be like shit. Like you'd spend like 5 minutes going over all the fucking gear.
They would just stack them in the pile like that, and if they had a like this little special thing promotion like double goblins, it would be 2 packs of that shit. It would just be good.
Yeah. I remember it was so frequent that like literally like you might have it happen like 3 games in a row. Like you'd be like, holy shit, they're all over the place.
No.
And then they added in the treasure goblin level, which I knew was coming at some point.
Yeah. So Reaper, you know, they at the last second. I mean, they might have pissed off a lot of the more casual fans. They definitely had me not playing for a couple years, but the Loot 2.0 readjusted your attitude. Reaper came out. We got it freaking able to make games and shit day one. At least we were. Unlike freaking the vanilla Diablo 2. And it was fun as shit, man. Freaking fun.
I remember playing the Reaper Souls. We were all piled in the room. We had 2 different groups trying to rush through. The power went out in the area, whatever. Something happened.
I think we went to go eat then.
And it crashed, and it was like, okay, that's it for now.
So I had my 4 areas, Chad. My 4 computers were all ready. Everybody's coming over. We got plans. It's like 5 a.m. We're going to start this shit. And then Eddy shows up. I didn't know that Eddy was going to show up. Thankfully, Eddy was like, I'm just going to watch. I'm like, Eddy, there's no way in hell I'm going to make you watch us play. You're going to lose your fucking minds what you're going to do. So thankfully, one guy brought a monitor. That's all I fucking needed. I had a 5th spot. We put Eddy in the goddamn closet.
I remember.
No chair. Has to be on his knees. Has to be on his knees because it was like I had a
I was sitting
end
on
table.
some crates or
Some
something.
crates. You had like an end table to work with, but we got Eddy. We got his ass in there day one. Split the teams up, so we had I think it was like 2 wizards. I can't remember what it was. But it was like 3 and 2, and we were off to the races, man. You're getting all kinds of epic shit. You're finally getting levels. It's fun. You had a couple of new skills, nothing too much, but with Reaper and they're not all there a beginning, but the adventure mode they added pretty soon after that, and the rifts. And I heard that these greater rifts might have actually been an expansion plan, like past Reaper, Chad. But they decided to put the rifts in, and there was a couple of I don't know if it's growing pains, but remember a point where you're making sets or whatever, and the best shit that get the set stuff you needed was like running the purple guys. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yep. That was where they had made a mistake because now they had made a reason or a purpose of running one thing over and over again, and as soon as you do that, if that's the meta, we're going to run this shit, and then all of a sudden you're running the same guy and you're making a game every 2 seconds. Freaking crash the server to go and try to run the same guys. But they before seasons, I felt maybe the characters were fairly balanced. Maybe I'm wrong. The items were actually good again. Remember the Shard of Hate before the season started?
Yeah.
Yep, the freaking Shard of Hate made at best in a barbarian's hands, because as he would whirlwind, the Shard of Hate would stack out in front of him and go with him as he's whirlwinding, and so it would all just hit and just explode and freaking shit's blowing up everywhere. As a sorceress, I actually found one, and so you pretty much kind of stood still with your electric. It had to be electric tack. you stay still with your electric, and then channel your like electric regular attacks because your disintegrate didn't have an electrical in it, but it's fun as hell, and you could do I think like the torment too. I'm pretty sure the torments were added immediately. They might have been added from Loot 2.0. I can't remember. But instead of simply having an Inferno mode or whatever, they allowed you to pick your difficulty. And so a lot of us were Torment 1, because in Torment 1, I think you had everything that could drop. There was Torment only shit. Like, the Shard of Hate was Torment only. And so you do what you can to get to Torment 1 as soon as you could, and pretty much any Yahoo who wasn't running Torment 1, then we knew he sucked.
Yeah. That was the whole point. It was like, and at that point, they didn't even give a shit about you leveling up to level 60 or 70 or whatever. When they started, you remember, like, they had the what was it, the gems that would increase, like, experience gained or whatever. It was like they knew, like, look, leveling up is just the bullshit. It's like it's all about the end game.
Well, because think of it like this: it's like you're playing and you're level 55, and you get some level 55 unique. You know it sucks. You know it's pointless.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like, why would you not just be 60 to begin with? Is the basic logic. And had they revamped Diablo 3 somehow, did like a loot 3.0, they might have gotten rid of fucking levels. The whole thing of leveling your guy up was something you do on your first run, playing through your normal Nightmare Hard. We're playing through the actual game. As soon as you're in adventure mode, you make a guy. And remember where we would play like Torment 6, all right, get your Jabroni level 1 dude in here. We're gonna gank his ass up. Freaking gank his.
Well, that was the whole point of the Paragon levels. Like, even if you made a brand new character at level 1, you'd throw all them Paragon levels on it, and you'd be like, oh yeah, this dude's already, like, it's like he's level 1 and could beat the shit out of, like, hell, because he's got so many. I mean, because like me and Will were running around at like 1,000 Paragon levels or some stupid shit.
Yeah, we did that with my alternate Witch Doctor character.
To get them up.
Yeah, running rifts.
I would have the rifts required a different strategy and equipment than your day to day running the fucking shit, because. What was the quest? They would give you quests that would get you blood shards and a couple other things, right?
You get rift stones.
Yeah, they made it a point so you would just run through the story doing these little events things. They'd make you go through each act to get the stuff that would keep your resources for your greater rifts. So the chief power would be in your greater rifts, but they would have you run the regular stuff to get resources. And the point of that would be. And they did a pretty damn good job, because, while you're trying to focus on rush down to being the strongest monsters you could on the greater rift, you just want to blow up as much shit as you can while you're running your regular stuff. And so you would have a character that's just designed to just freaking super teleport crazy maniac character. I remember that shit. I would just teleport, set the whole fucking thing, the whole screen on fire with the damn blizzard, the flame blizzard, just go to the next fucking screen, guys chasing me. And, I was having a fun. It was at this point of the game, early in the Reaper, where I felt that this was actually better than Diablo 2. And I still think that to this day. They really had nailed down the stuff. And while Diablo 3 had a lot of problems, just the fun of just blowing tons of shit up it was great. When the sets started coming in, they're for seasons. That's I think season 1. I think was it the Witch Doctor was overpowered shit? I can't remember.
The Witch Doctor was, but that was, I don't know if that was a different point. Before all that, he was overpowered because he had an infinite mana ability, and then you'd use zombie bears to one-shot bosses. They got rid of that before I could do it. They nerfed it.
It might have been season 1. I don't know. I think it was the Witch Doctor who was the only one who had a set that worked, if I remember right. I could be wrong.
I think so. Yeah. I think you're right on that.
And so,
the Necro was overpowered like hell when they first brought him in, but they charged extra money for him.
Yeah,
so
they charged $20, and then everybody was the necromancer anyway. So it wasn't even matter.
Exactly.
Get that.
So. Yeah, I'd pretty much quit playing regular by that, and even then, I was just looking at that. I was like, maybe I pay $20 for that stash tab, But you had a character was for greater rifts. You had a character that was for freaking running real fast, a speed kill character. And then I kept a character for each fucking set. So you had 4 sets. They were definitely not balanced. They were never
they
balanced.
were not. Because you could check. I mean, it kind of everybody started kind of like running the cookie cutter builds.
Yeah.
And they tried their dangest not to have cookie cutter builds, but when you would have those rankings and you could see everybody's loadout, it's like the top 2 would all, or the top 10 would always have the same ones because that's clearly what works. So you would just like copy that.
And so they would eventually just went all into it, and they do the flavor of the month. And so every time they have a new season, and we're going to add this thing in, they would rebalance a set or two, and make stupid broken shit. Freaking just it became more kind of exponential numbers, and now this guy is known for its crazy numbers, but up until this guy is 6, Diablo 3 was actually doing crazier numbers than this guy was. It's like, oh, well, here's your 16 billion damage and all that other crazy shit. Yep. It's like it would just be like a damn a rainbow puke of freaking like just numbers all over the screen. Couldn't even tell what the hell was going on. As long as it's dying, it felt good, man. As long as they're dying real fast.
Yep, that was the whole point. It was all crowd control. But it's like I think back when I stopped playing, the monk was the overpowered one. They had that like that bell move or whatever, where it's like it was like you literally just walk up to a group and hit like one key and they'd all die one time. I mean, it was insane. It'd just be like billion. It was just crazy.
Yeah,
and it was fun for about 5 minutes, but it's like it kind of you know how it is. Like it's like playing with God mode on. It's cool for about 5 seconds, and then it's like, well, it ain't cool anymore.
Yeah, and you're either trying to constantly push for a greater rift, and well, maybe your character's ready, but your friend's character's not ready. Now we didn't play seasons at all. I really didn't want to start my shit over again. And if I'd had like 7 or 8 characters, I wanted to be able to easily pull whatever the hell one I want. I didn't want to have to make multiple season characters to just do the same shit I'm already doing, except with a leaf above my fucking name or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't bother with the seasons in Diablo 3 either. Yeah. I did with Diablo 2. I loved it. I liked it when they did seasons in Diablo 2 because it's fun when it would start over and everybody's on a level playing field, and it's like, it's like all of a sudden the low level shit like Tarn Helms actually has like a purpose, or Sig and Set, and it's like people actually be trying to find it and complete it because they need that shit. And then by the time the season would end, it would be kind of like, it was starting to get stale again. It was fun to start back over every once in a while.
Yeah, I liked. What was it? It wasn't they eventually had the red items. I never actually found a red item. I didn't play. I quit.
God, those were the. I found some. They sucked, unfortunately.
You got all bad ones.
Well, the thing, it was like an item that I didn't care about, but basically it meant that it had like
max stats.
It was max stats. God, I'm gonna think of it as soon as I
don't remember the name of that, and I don't remember the name of the.
It wasn't savage items. It was like.
I don't know. The only thing I know.
There was a tier of drop.
Oh, it was ancient. It was primals. They had ancients, which were like souped up versions, and then they had the primal ones or whatever.
Yeah, I remember I got an ancient furnace, and I was so happy to get that thing. I thought I was being awesome, and it's like I found it myself. And I just used that shit with such pride. And it was the best weapon for that time. There was some stuff I would try to get and work my ass off and never quite get it good. Or, after it was no longer the best shit, I'd find an ancient one. And I'm like, I'm going to hoard this shit either way on my character. We'll just say that this character was, retired. Got my shit.
Cleaver.
But one of my favorite fucking things was, I forgot what the hell it was, but I was using the damn wizard doubles, the mirror images, and then with bubbles on it. And then all of the little mirror image people would cast bubbles, and so I'd have like 7 or 8 bubbles all stacked on top of each other, and just crazy shit. It's just there was so many fun skills in that game.
I like the ones that look like the little paper planes that the wizard have.
Yeah, I think it's the
And it was
arcane
cool.
turret.
It was like really cool early on in game, but like once you got to like torment, it wasn't useful anymore. But it was really cool early on.
That was still your main attack as damn it, I can't remember the freaking name. Where you transform into Super Saiyan. The default. There were several variants of that, but like the default original one, the arcane, the electrical one.
Yeah.
There was some hidden shit for like the chance on cast that varied by each individual type, and so it was some that was that you should have been more open about with that, because some of your your signature, your starting skills, they would generate real good because they'd have that chance on cast on a lot of stuff, but some of them didn't. Fun stuff. This, of course, Blizzard would, if you took your shit was too fun, they'd nerf that shit and obliterate it and freaking make it useless.
Yep.
I remember the Barbarian had some kind of dashy bullshit build, and they were like, "This is overpowered," and so they nerfed it. And it was like nerfed for years before they finally said, "Oh well, we'll bring it back now." And it was like I think they took it out of the game. One of these goodies, it was so damn good. But they did that for a lot of shit. Now, these days, whatever they got going on, I don't know. I never even got the 5th set. Did you try to get the 5th set?
I don't remember ever getting it.
Yeah. I don't even...
It's like one of those, I think by the time I'd kind of like gotten out of it.
Yeah.
But what really came down to is you're talking about everybody had that mode where you could switch into like a Super Saiyan mode, like the Demon Hunter had it where, it was almost like she went into like a special mode and Barbarian. It got to the point where you tried to make it where you stayed in that mode the longest time, and as soon as it would wear off, you could get back into it.
Yeah,
that's really what it came down. You would do like you'd get all your cooldown stuff. Like I love the idea that you could go up and do the modifier. You remember like you'd be like, oh, this item sucks, but I mean it's a great item, but one of the stats on it sucks. Like it's like instead of having vitality, I wish it had like something else on it.
And you could
go
change
like you could gamble it off. That was great. I mean, it was just like one of those like whatever you found, you could, unless it completely sucked, you could make something out of it.
Yeah.
But I remember with the Demon Hunter, it'd be like you would make it where like you had that one skill where it was like you would find there would always be that one where like criticals would make the cooldown reduction. So you would just make it where as soon as you wore off, you could go right back into it. Because by the time it wore off, the cooldown would be finished.
Yeah.
But that's basically was like, that's how you play.
Yeah, but then there would be some crazy shit. I don't know. Sometimes Blizzard's trying to bake that in themselves, or they're strongly encouraging some kind of experimentation. And then some player would come up with some just crazy shit that, this is the way to play this thing. And, it would not make sense on paper, but then you actually went in there and did it. It's like, wow, this is great. We never did it, but some of the 4-player meta, the chief meta greater whiff pushes, they have certain classes. It's like, oh, well, this guy pulls monsters, and then the sorceress would she would throw the double freaking tornadoes in the corners. There's very specific ways of play, and then of course this time Twitch is around, and so people would go and see these, or YouTube, and they would see these specific ways of playing and working as a team, which I thought was cool. But I honestly didn't want to be such down. You get something locked into a certain way to doing things and something like that, and so I always like having a little bit of where I made a change or two to these super skills that I wanted to make, because to make it for me.
Yeah.
Instead of just playing the actual robot build that some guys have put up on YouTube. But that's what Diablo 3 became, was these sort of build fest type things that make crazy shit. But I liked the actual gameplay of Diablo 3 a pretty good bit. Some of the stuff like the graphics or the sound are real bad.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like you could tell that's why they made it where it was only 4-player, because if you'd have had freaking 7 players in there, it would have been rough.
Yeah, you can't tell with 4 players doing all their craziest shit.
You can't tell what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
No, you can barely tell with 2 people in there. You know, it's just like shit's all over the screen, especially if you got two wizards in there, or you know, like a witch doctor and a wizard, anything like that. It's just shit's all over the place.
Yep. But I guess my chief problem with it today is that it's stagnant enough, or the changes are so spread out that I've tried to play it. I tried to play it this year, and I'm like, yo, I can't stand this. I've definitely done my fill, and then I got no urge to play it again. Jerry ran it the other day just to test the video card out, and I'm like, he's playing that shit. I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, whatever you do, Jerry. I didn't give any rat's ass. Were you interested? You probably know you had it on your computer, Eddie.
I have it there. It's probably not updated.
Yeah.
But and even if I do play, the only thing I'm going to do is look for treasure goblins, because that's the only thing there.
I thought about playing just to check out this new set, to try to find the new set. It's like, I know if I'll play for an afternoon, I'll have a set and I'll figure out what to do. And then
it's only just a pass. That's like with Diablo 2 Resurrected. It was one of those, like, I'm not going to play this for years on it. And I hadn't played regular Diablo 2. I hadn't played Diablo 2, even Zael, you know. Before you got me to play Zael, like earlier in the year, I hadn't played Diablo 2 in probably, like, God, over 10 years. Yeah. It would be pre-Diablo 3. Whenever Diablo 3 came out, it was before that.
Going back immediately from Diablo 3 to 2 without sitting away from both of them, there would be stuff like holding down the Alt key or to pick up gold. To pick up items. It would be like, wow, this
you
is
can toggle that on and off now too.
Yeah, I figured that would be a quality of life change that they would definitely.
Yep. You can toggle it on and off to stay.
I'm assuming you could have a press a key to force move. I think actually when I think even vanilla Diablo 2, Lord of Destruction, like the 1.15 whatever it is, actually had a ghetto press button to move. That's how I play. I know a lot of people, they just hold down their left mouse click. These days, I have a W key, it's move, and then I just point my mouse where I want to go. It saves my freaking fingers. Stuff like that would be just quality of life features that would be in there. We might get Diablo 4 sometime next year. Maybe. It's supposed to be an Xbox PS4 game, by the way, Eddie. Those systems are long in the tooth, and that would not mean that they'll try to put that shit on a Switch.
Are you sure it's not really meant for PC?
It's going to be day and date on both of them, just like on all that shit, just the way Diablo 2 was, the Resurrected. It's going to be day and date.
You'll be able to get it on your phone because we have phones.
Yeah. Do you not have phones?
Yeah.
Definitely, or they might push it off just to have Diablo Immortal be by itself. I don't think you need to. I think you could absolutely leave those as two different things. But Diablo Immortal has taken 40,000 years to come out.
They're in such a hurry to you announce it. Now it's just like, yeah, we'll get around to it.
With Resurrected out, I think people will not be bitching about it. They can just bring it out. There'll be a bunch of memes, and people play it or don't play it.
Yeah, that's pretty much that was the big thing. Was like, if you're going to announce that, it's like you better at least announce that something else you're working on.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Just it's like, because it took them forever to come out with Diablo 3. It's going to take forever for it to come out with Diablo 4. At least say you got something in the works. Yeah. I think that's what people really wanted. They just wanted to hear they had something going on instead of jack shit nothing.
I've seen a couple of video pieces where they're doing like a demo thing. It looks nice and everything, and they bring back Duriel.
What I saw of Diablo 4 did not look as good as that's since announcement. It's not as good as what Diablo Resurrected looks right now. Maybe they're going to go back and work for it. This is what I noticed, Eddie. About the time they announced Diablo 4, Path of Exile 2 got announced, and it shit on it graphically. Now, I've never played deep in Path of Exile, but I was wanting to go back. But I'm like, okay, I'll wait for Path of Exile 2. It's being delayed to 2024, Chad. I'm like, what the fuck? it ought to be about done. I don't know if it's they're 100% owned by Tencent, and I know that Jinping Dingaling, Mr. Winnie the Pooh, is starting to hate on games. I don't know if that's got anything to do with it or if it's just COVID shit. But
They don't want anybody playing over 15 minutes a week, you know.
Yeah. They that's for online games, by the way. So they could play single player shit, but they don't have like consoles the way we do.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just recent for consoles, or they'll just mainly play a bunch of fucking bootleg shit. But
they're gonna be going back in back alleys and playing old Famicom games, trying to get their fixes.
I do not remember where I saw it, but there was a Chinese documentary about kids addicted to video games, and so they had taken these kids that they would deemed were addicted. Most of them are playing at internet cafes just for too long, and they put them in like a I don't know what do you call it, asylum or whatever. They put them in a fucking little hospital or rehab hospital. Kids escaped, and they went out and played World of Warcraft.
It's like you'd hear those stories where it's like somebody died because they played like Korean, 72 hours straight or something like that.
I've heard those stories. They were drinking too many energy drinks or whatever. They stayed up.
There's something
3 days straight playing StarCraft, World of Warcraft, whatever.
Yeah, there's some kind of medical thing that could happen if you sit down too much.
For that, you can get blood clots in your freaking legs too.
I have to get up and take a shit, dude.
No, man, you saw the South Park episodes. You just like, I need to take a shit.
Even back in the day when I was doing serious D2 stuff, just running around, playing the game, trying to find loot and everything, I couldn't do it like that.
No.
I would have to take breaks. Even though it'd be, periodically, I would be getting up and eating something.
As for news, man, you got to be hardcore if you're gonna win. You got to you can't stop.
You can't let the other guy be number one ranked, man. He's gonna get the level 99 first. You have to get in there.
Yeah, man. That was the thing is every time the ladder would reset, there would always be this group of we're gonna be number one first, and all their characters would have their same clan name in their characters, and it'd be like good for you guys,
Well, you like the game and you got an extra thing to do, then go buy all the means. But you know what? Fucking take a cigarette break, dude.
Even now, I can't really play for too long, but I can play for a good amount.
There's games like the one I got on the screen right here. I got Final Fantasy 1 on the screen that sucked my soul in, Eddie. And I have to realize that there's definitely ones I could just play for fun in the afternoon and walk away. And then there's ones that get my ass in there, and a big RPG can do it. I think RPGs are the worst for me, but Diablo was one that I would sit there and fucking be playing to the acid of midnight.
I'll tell you, I did Diablo 2 so many times where it's like I would just literally it'd be like, oh shit, it's morning. Like I would just play
Diablo and Diablo Zyl.
Yep, I'm not expecting that for 4. I don't have hardly any expectations for 4.
I don't think there's anything that could get me to do that anymore. As we get older. Yeah. It's like I'm good for about an hour. Like Diablo 2 Resurrected, I've enjoyed it, but it's like I'll play for about an hour and I'm good. It's like, and I'll do that maybe every other day, or maybe just 4 out of 5 days maybe or something. But it's fun for about an hour and I'm good. I've got my fix.
Me and Eddie got a game. Monster Hunter World 2 would make me do that shit. Fucking take a month off to play Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I remember during the lockdown time period, that was our game. And we spent the whole year and we got through most of it.
We regressed, sir. It was in the middle of the COVID doom. We were all fucked anyway. I'm having to work overnight crazy shit. You know what? I'm just gonna play freaking Monster Hunter.
I remember falling asleep a couple of times. I remember Windows 10 crashing my PC. I want to update. I'm shutting down.
That's honestly that, and of course Castlevania HD is the closest the Diablo parallels we have these days. What I like about them is
you guys treated it like crack.
what I like about them is they're heavily skill based. And I don't, and of course, some super hardcore Diablo player, it is skill based. No, you just fucking mash the 4 fucking number keys and the damn
It
2
is
mouse
not
buttons.
it ain't skill based like Castlevania HD is.
No.
Like not even close.
Yeah.
At Castlevania HD is like, your weapons and your loadout help you, but God, you still got to be able to do that pinpoint accuracy of like bouncing around.
Yeah.
I could do that.
And in Monster Hunters, it's slower pace, but it's the same way, and so it really sucked me in. But
Monster Hunter was just one big boss rush.
yeah. But honestly, the fact of just doing the boss rush to get the treasure at the end, I mean, it's probably gonna be shit, but it's gonna be heavy freaking armor. It ain't gonna never be wing boots, but that's kind of replaced my Diablo for me. Because
we still do Fatalis runs for eyeballs.
I do like on those type of games where you have a specific chest you're running for. There's a point of you doing that area. While it's in Diablo 3, they've been so worried about trying to repeat Diablo 2. The things about Diablo 2 is that they make every chest be any freaking thing, anything at all. And so there wasn't much. So you're just kind of you just
find treasure.
It's almost brainless in a lot of ways.
And they'll might drop some good loot.
So it's one of those things where I think Diablo 4 is going to lean into Diablo 2. Of course it is, because they want to get away from 3 now. And then we'll go and run through the same freaking problems as before. It's gonna be great, Eddie. It's gonna be great.
Yep, it's gonna be like the servers are gonna be shit. It's gonna crash a lot.
Hearing
it's
people doing Andorial runs on Diablo 4.
On Diablo 4, that's your
supposed
plan.
to be coming back as well.
Well,
and maybe Duriel won't have a freeze aura. I didn't see one on him.
Well, we'll have to see. But heavily, I think it's going to look good. Whether it play good, I mean, honestly, I'm more excited for Path of Exile, even though it's going to be freaking probably afterwards.
I'm more excited for Jurassic
I'm not going to get my hopes up though.
Evolution 2.
They ain't the same shit, Eddie. What if it's like fucking Jurassic World? You got to plant the dinosaurs, and then they grow up and pop in pianos and like treasure, random treasure comes out. Oh, you be fucked then, wouldn't you?
Oh, I don't want my T-Rex to die. I want to take pictures of them eating everything.
I'm still gonna run Wizard in fucking Diablo 4, bro. All right, claiming it right now.
What if they don't have one?
We quit.
They're supposed to have one. The druid makes a return, so I might be bear druid.
She's supposed to be sophisticated in this one instead of sassy. Hopefully they still have the male and female the variant.
I think they do.
I did like that. That was interesting. At least you can make them look different.
Yeah, and they kind of had different personalities. So if you didn't,
they kind of did that in Diablo 2 Resurrected also, except for like they look like a male and a female, as opposed to being able to pick which one. It's
androgynous, man. It's supposed to be a question mark.
Whatever that Amazon is like.
She's got a manly chin, dude.
She's a very pretty man.
So many players right now, so many console players are going to be that Amazon and just put all the skills in the bow. And it's like, this is how you're going to do it. And then their bow-azons are going to suck because if you're not a hybrid, you're terrible.
That's pretty much at the point where it's like, I mean, I did the same build I did on the past few times I ever played Diablo 2, where it's a hybrid zone. Basically, it's like strafe and freaking, you max out strafe, and some people do multi-shot, but I always did well with strafe just for the lightning immune. And then you just max out lightning fury, charge strike, and then you work on like one of the other lightning synergy ones. Whatever will give 10% to charge strike, that's what you go for. Yep. And you better get a goddamn good bow, because you pretty much have to make a faith bow for that boson to be worth the shit.
I tried running a boson later in the game, because that's what I'd done early in the old vanilla days, and then she was awful.
You would. Is that the one that you kept not doing anything with? And
I can do shit. It's like, you know what? That's one of the reasons why you go wizard and never look back, man.
Well, it depends on what type of. The thing was,
those tokens
in
and
point
everything.
10, they nerfed the shit out of her because they got rid of the guided arrow bug. You remember where it was like the arrow would go back and forth?
Yeah, she was a
So
player killer beast, man.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, at that point, guided arrow is out the door unless you're player killer, or P versus P. And then multi shot was fine, but like you had to get damage. The trick with the freaking hybrid Boazon and making the Boazon work, you had to get fortitude armor because that was that 200% enhanced damage. Then you had to get a freaking faith bow because that's the one that had phantasm on it. Um, those two things alone made your Boazon good. But if you're just running with no fortitude with like a wind force, forget it. You wasn't gonna do shit.
Yeah. I didn't even have a fucking win for us. We were just running through. Was that hardcore? I think it was hardcore, Eddie.
Yeah, we did hardcore once.
Did you ever do hardcore, Chad?
I don't even know where my necromancer is. I lost him.
Now, fuck doing hardcore on BattleNet.
Oh yeah, that was the whole problem.
Some guy comes up, backstabs you, and runs.
Well,
off.
no, you would definitely run private games or where people you run.
You would run private. It wasn't even that. It was just you would lag and you would die, and it wouldn't even be your fault. It'd just be because you lagged out of a game and you log back in and your character's dead.
Yeah,
because you couldn't do anything.
I do love the premise. What that will generally lead to is a very conservative play. Is what it does.
Yeah.
My friend Andrew and his brother both ran. They pretty much switched over to hardcore in Diablo 3 for the three of us essentially. But it comes to those things. Diablo 3 is even worse because you can go from you have all these torments and shit, and so it's very difficult to know where should I be damage wise, and so you kind of find out by dying. You just start seeing or run into an enemy that you shot 20 times, and he's like, "Is that supposed to hurt?" I love the premise, but it really is a conservative play style, and it ends up kind of being once you've decided that you're not going to die, you've decided that you're going to play conservative. It gets kind of boring.
Yeah, so
like you get played too conservative. No. It's kind of like building a hardcore necromancer, and it's like it's going to be safe, but it's going to be boring.
Yeah,
because you're just going to play from the back.
Yeah. But I guess we had we were scattered all around, but we had a pretty good Diablo 3. I don't have super negative opinions of Diablo 3. I didn't like Vanilla. I love Reaper, and to a point, I thought that was where the best Diablo I've ever played, especially when me and you and Will was able to play every day. I'll be hyped for Diablo 4, but I'm not gonna go all in because I'm scarred. I'm fucking scarred, and this new Blizzard is not the same old Blizzard. The new Blizzard is a fuck up Blizzard. You put them right there in EA Konami, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh.
Sorry, Eddie. I'm just talking straight truth, especially if you look at the past couple of years and what they've done.
Well,
nothing.
Konami kind of scarred me canceling the old game. And then EA comes by and then stabs me more. No Dead Space 4. Hurt and pain.
We'll save Konami for another podcast.
Konami's just always going to kick you when you're down.
Yeah.